Hey, I'm Mike Baccarella, and today we're going to take a look at a performance of There Will Never Be Another You by Bruce Forman, and we're going to take a look at how he reharmonizes the melody. Let's take a look. The device that Bruce Forman uses while reharmonizing this melody is a chromatic descending bass line. He works his way down from E flat, which is the root of the first chord, and works his way down chromatically till he gets to the G7, which sets up the next section. Now the first step is we want to make sure we know the notes of the melody. B flat, C, D, E flat, F, G, B flat, F, E flat, F. Now typically that melody is played over the E flat major 7 chord until you get to the F, which is then a D minor 7 flat 5 going to G7, which sets up the next section for C minor. But Bruce works his way down for each note, and then ends up on that G, the same G7. So the first step is, okay, now we got the melody. Now we know we're working from E flat down to G. Let's see if we can get each of these notes together with a bass line. And it works its way out. Now, how do we harmonize that, though? So the harmonization for this uses a technique called tritone substitutions. Now, if you're not familiar with how a tritone sub works, basically if you take a G7 chord and look at it, you look, okay, we got G here on the 3rd fret 6th string, F on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, and then B on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. It's the 3rd and 7th of the chord. If you look at a D flat 7, if you go between those two shapes and only play those two notes, the 3rd and 7th of those two chords, they're the same, aren't they? If I add the roots back in, we can hear that they have the same kind of identity. The root makes a little difference in the tension of the chord, but we can hear they have the same identity. And since they're both dominant 7th chords, and that tritone in the chord, the 3rd and 7th, those are the notes that want to expand out and resolve. And since they share the same tritone, they can both resolve to each other's resolutions because they have the same tension notes that want to resolve. So G7 wants to go to C. Well, if I play D flat 7, that also goes to C really well, doesn't it? If you take a listen. That works really well, doesn't it? And where this gets used a lot is for good voice leading in the bass line. So if we're playing a 2-5-1, D minor 7, G7, C, I can do that. Or instead of going to G7, I can go down a half step to D flat 7. If you listen to them back to back, they sound pretty much the same, don't they? They have the same resolution, the same function. So that's a really basic way of how tritone substitutions work. If you have any more questions, please leave a comment. I'll try to explain it more. But basically, it allows the bass line to move down in half steps. And that's how we're going to harmonize this melody. So we're going to start on the 1 chord. We got E flat major, and we're going to have that B flat on top. And then we're going to go down to D. We're going to play a D7. Then we're going to go down to D flat 7. And we're going to have the D on top, which is our flat 9. Then we're going down another half step to C7. And we're going to have the E flat on top, which will be our sharp 9. We're going down another half step, and we're going to play B7 with the F on top. Now this voicing always is a pain for me to fit all my fingers in that spot. Okay, and then we're going down another half step, and we're going to put the G on top of the B flat, and we're going to play this as a sus chord, but it's still a dominant 7th. Now our next melody note is B flat, and our next root down is A, so that's our flat 9. So Bruce puts out with a 13 flat 9. And then the next note would be A flat. And then he works his way down a half step and resolves it to down to G7. This is a G7 sus, but then he plays this. So he plays A, B flat, F and B together, which is a tritone of the G7. And then while sustaining that, plays the G down to the F. Bruce does this little move a lot. So we look at that again. E flat major, D7, D flat 7 flat 9, C7 sharp 9, B7 sharp 11, B flat 13 sus, A13 flat 9, A flat 13, G7. And it worked its way down. Now we're at the part of the tune where we can go to the C minor now. Now that we're at C minor for the next section, Bruce gets rid of the chords and just does the descending bass line. Until he gets there, then he plays a chord there. So let's go over that. So the melody for here is E flat, F, G, B flat, C, E flat, C, B flat, and we land on a C again. And usually we'd be here on a B flat minor, onto E flat, which sets up the next section. You know, and so forth. Which goes to A flat, D flat, and so forth. So we're here on C minor. So he starts with the C and the bass, and he works his way down to E and E flat. So he works his way down to E flat, which is where we need to go to set up the A flat major section, right? And when he gets to E, he chooses to play an E7 sharp 9 sharp 5. Kind of like the Hendrix chord, you just bar your pinky across. And then he resolves it down to E flat 7 sus. Just barred across right here. So we see this is a really cool tool we can use to reharmonize melodies. Now, one of the interesting things is every time I do this, you know, with a melody of a tune, is, you know, working down chromatically or even working up chromatically. You can do it in the other direction too. It always seems to work itself out to get me to either where I'm going or near where I'm going, so I can just finagle a couple chord moves to get back to where I need to go. And it's a very interesting tool to use, and it's very cool on the ears because our ears pay attention to a couple things. You know, harmony is the most important thing when we hear harmony moving by. But if we don't hear harmony functioning, our ear picks up on sequences. And so anytime we can hear a sequence moving verbatim like that, our ear grabs it, and it's, even though it's super dissonant and it's moving down in half steps and doesn't make any sense, even though it is all resolving because of the tritone subs, right? But still, it's very dissonant and it's moving, seems like it's not going anywhere. That repetitive sequence keeps our ear intrigued until we get to the resolution. It's like, oh, okay, there's the resolution. So this is a really cool tool you can use for harmonizing a melody, you know, for a solo arrangement. And as you see, Bruce does it with both chords and just bass lines. And I think it's fascinating both ways, and it opens up a lot of opportunities for you to work to what you're going towards. If you're not checking out Bruce Forman's first course of the day on Instagram every day, you really should. There's an amazing amount of amazing guitar playing going on every day there that you could check out for inspiration. So thanks for checking out the lesson. Keep practicing. I'll see you next time.